Live from the Score Atlanta television studios in North Atlanta, this is Georgia High School Sports Daily, powered by IBEW Local 613.
All right, happy hump day, and welcome back to another episode of Georgia High School Sports Daily. I'm your host, Nigel Wilkins, along with Craig Sager. We've got another jam-packed show for you guys for today. A lot to get into. We're going to talk to Ẓtééphane Smith of Titan Sports, get the latest with their great company. Obviously, we'll talk about our basketball predictions. We'll break down the 2A, Classic Division I, Classic Division II, and obviously private brackets as well. And in the last segment, we'll have on Max and Hayden to give us their basketball predictions. But, Craig, we got some big news early on in the show. Obviously, our great reporter, Max Wilborski, obviously broke the news and talked about it a little bit. But Jonathan Guest no longer at Hebron Christian. Definitely an interesting move. So, two teams in the private classification, Craig, that were really good last year. Prince Avenue Christian goes in a new direction, and then obviously you have Hebron Christian. So really good that they were able to win a title this year.
Certainly. I think, what was this year, 3 or 4 for him there?
I believe so.
This was him building that program up. They've had some good coaches before Coach Guest took over. Jeff Saturday was there. But what he brought was a guy that won all those state titles at Elka, guy that had that championship pedigree. He gets them to the top this year, and I was starting to think this is the new dynasty that Prince Avenue Christian may have established the last few years. This is the new team to beat. They're going to return a ton of talent. They were great on both sides of the ball. The entire coaching staff there is pretty exceptional. They got Bruce Miller. They got David Green on there. This is an interesting move, and similar to Coach Vandergriff leaving the state, I'll say it again, I'm used to seeing the best coaches come into Georgia, so there's something going on where our top
best
coaches are going to other states.
Yes.
I think they're really going to shake things up and kind of just show how things are done in Georgia from an administrative level. And he's obviously been at multiple places in the state, so it's huge.
Yeah, obviously, to talk about his career at Elka, obviously won state championships there, but delivered their first ever state championship in their program history this past year. 27-10 over that 3-year stretch and a 12-2 record this year. Obviously a great head coach. Hate to see him leave, but going for other opportunities. We wish him nothing but the best, but major news to start off the show.
Yes, we'll have more, obviously, on that at scoreatl.com.
Yep, go check out the story there. Max obviously broke it, but we got more news for you guys. I'll start us off with our fast break headlines for today. Roswell's Parla leads Hornets past Buford in a battle of defending state champions. This was a marquee matchup. The Wolves won the Division III state title last year in overtime on a goal from Drew Maloney. The Hornets countered with their second straight state title in Division II. Naturally, two decided to link up on a Valentine's Day showdown and gave both teams the opportunity to lay claim to being the best team in the state. Roswell didn't leave any doubt in this one. Their best player, Caden Parla, was the star of the show. He had 7 goals and added 2 assists to lead the Hornets to a 17-10 rout of that game. Buford jumped out to a 3-0 lead, led by picturesque snipe from senior Peyton Riddle. But the run for Roswell started after that, and they were able to get back into the game. Caden Parla had this to say after his 7-goal performance. 7 goals is definitely the best performance I've ever had. I knew I had a good matchup going into the game. I just thought I was going to have to play well. It was a big game, and I just had to do my part. So obviously big from him, and Junior Jack Dowder was also magnificent in the game, turning in several goals as well.
Yeah, and let's just talk about how big this result is. For Roswell, the team that many are going to say is the premier program in the state, to be down 3-0, their first big matchup of the entire season, and then to end up turning it into a rout, winning 17-10, that's a great sign for them to kind of get hit early. They were actually trailing after the first quarter, and then to just completely run away with it and lock in. Reminds me like sort of what we saw with Milton in that second half of the state championship. That's what great teams do, and a big result for them.
100%. All right, let's go to our next headline. Gwinnett lands 44 on the GHSA All-State football teams. For those at home that don't know what that is, it's Georgia Athletic Coaches Association. So they had several notable players that was on this list. North Gwinnett quarterback Ryan Hall was named Offensive Player of the Year in Class 6A for Regions 5 through 8. Buford linebacker Jaden Parlati was named Defensive Player of the Year for Regions 5 through 8. Hall is signed with Georgia Tech for baseball, which he'll leave obviously after the season's over. And obviously Parlati signed with Tennessee. Grayson linebacker Tyler Atkinson earned Defensive Player of the Year honors for Regions 1 through 4. Atkinson is one of the nation's top college prospects in the 2026 class. Other notable names, Shane Throgmorton of Mill Creek, Dylan Mohammed, Daniel Smith, Justin Baker, Braden Tyson, Jordan Allen, Jamari Harrell, Elijah Patillo, Marcus Parks. You also have on the defensive side of the ball, Stephen Barjolo, Lion Burns III, Osiris Gilbert, C.J. Hector. On the offensive line, you have Cortez Smith, who's at Georgia now, Parkview, Zach Lewis, North Gwinnett, Dennis Ochekwu from Peachtree Ridge, Jackson Murphy of Mill Creek, Graham Houston, Buford. Defensive line, Bryce Perry Wright, Nick Maggio, who we talked to on signing day, Devin Ingram, Deuce Geralds, Cottrell Webb, and many, many more.
Yep, great list right there. I did my daily dive on that last Friday with the full list. What's interesting about this all-state list is how they divide it into 4 regions. So you have 6A, you got regions 1 through 4. They do an offensive player of the year, defensive player of the year, and then regions 5 through 8. So you sort of get to see it split in half rather than just having one, where normally when you have these all-state lists, it's sometimes obvious who's going to win the offensive player of the year, but now you get kind of 2 guys in that. So go to scoreatl.com. You can check that out right there. All right, headline number 3, North Oconee Jr. Laura Francis enters the 1,000 career point club. Unselfish is how her coach, Eric Willis, described the junior guard, or Lolly Willis. There's no relation, although they have the same name. On Thursday night, after she entered, we just got to clear up the confusion. After she entered the elite 1,000 career point club less than a month behind her longtime teammate and friend, senior Kendall Wells, Laura Francis had the ball, sitting 2 points away from the milestone when she instead passed the ball to a teammate who had just as good of a shot. You know what they say about karma, do unto others what you wish to be done to you. The burst of karma came fast for Laura Francis, and she was able to hit the exclusive marker with a step back in the lane. She needed 12 points, and she got those 12 points sitting on the bench for the second half due to the 40-point lead the Titans had over Eastside. So big-time milestone for them, and watch out for North Oconee having one of the best seasons they've had in school history.
Yes, they are. All right, our next headline, Marietta Leah Dewitt was named Region 5 6A Player of the Year. She averaged 25.3 points per game, 6.7 rebounds, 2.4 assists, and 2.4 steals, and also 1.1 blocks. She scored 701 points during the regular season in her freshman year, considered one of the best prospects coming up in the country. Massive potential. I've got a chance to see some of her tape. You talk about elite shot maker. She really reminds me of, not the same player, but Gianni Rogers and what she could do on the private level. Just elite shot maker, can hit it from anywhere from three-point range, Craig. Can play make, set up her teammates, and also can get to the free throw line and hit her free throws. Yes,
and we'll see how far Marietta goes this year. They have a really interesting matchup with Lowndes in the first round. Lowndes is a senior-led team. They're experienced. Marietta is going to be here for a while. It almost reminds me of Crystal Henderson coming to the scene as a freshman, having that 25 points per game, and then just getting better and better. She's already picking up all these SEC offers. She's the real deal and comes out of a great region where they're battling with Campbell and Hillgrove. So do not underestimate this freshman. She's unbelievable. That's Leah DeWitt, winning Region Player of the Year as a freshman. Huge.
Yeah, that is huge. And not too far from that 1,000-point mark either.
Exactly. And then, yeah, that matchup against Lowndes. What was the final of that one? That one will be tonight, right?
Yeah, that'll be tonight.
That was one tonight. All right, headline 5. North Oconee wins its first gymnastics event of the year, beating a plethora of state powers. You can go to scoreatl.com to get the full story. North Oconee won a major gymnastics meet to kick off the season on February 8th. The Titans faced off against 8 other teams, including Buford, West Forsyth, and Lambert, teams that have won 10 of the last 11 championships in the top classification. North Oconee finished with a score of 106.975. The team's young talent stood out at the event, with sophomore Emma Howells and freshman Fabiana Pombo finishing first and second in their class. Buford finished second overall in the event and first in classification. The team placed in 4 events. Joanna Sasser came in second in both the vault and bars event and third on the beam, while Jillian Hines placed third in the floor event. Additionally, Bella Ray Newby and Ellison Gold earned 4th place finishes in the beam and 4 events. Both Buford and North Oconee will be back in action at the XOXO competition this Saturday in Buford. Other upcoming events will be held in Bowden on February 26th and Roswell on February 21st. You can go to scoreatl.com for Hayden's full story right there.
All right, well, Craig, look, I was trying to look it up on my phone. I still am, but I wanted to get your reaction. I'm going to see if we can just find the stats here real quick. But I want to get your reaction, Craig. A big win last night. I don't see any stats, but a big win last night for Pace Academy for those watching at home. 66-31 against Central Carrollton. Craig, we talked about it yesterday, it being a tough matchup. just coming in and just how that bracket was shaping out, especially with Kel being in it. That'll probably be their second-round matchup. But what is your thoughts to Pace Academy not leaving any doubt, completely dominating that game and winning?
You can't start the playoffs off any better than that. I think maybe I underestimated their defense. I know they're versatile, not in their identity, but their speed of the game. They can attack when they want to. They can slow it down. But to put in that effort, I feel like Coach White had to have known, in order to beat Central Carroll, here's the recipe. They went out and executed perfectly. And then for them to be one of the first teams to play in the first round on the boys' side, that's another benefit for them to be able to sit back, have that big win, prepare for the next opponent.
Yeah, 100%. So shout out to Pace. It'll be a fun team to watch. We'll have more with obviously our predictions later. But Craig, any matchups you're kind of looking forward to maybe tonight on the boys' side?
On the boys' side, haven't picked one out yet. I think the Pebblebrook game is going to be interesting.
Yes.
Obviously want to see how Walton does. And then really, I mean, what we saw with Pace, how are these teams going to open their playoff run? How dominant will they be? We've got the teams that we know are going to be front runners in most of the classifications. But, man, if I had known that Pace was going to come out like that, I might have changed my pick.
I'm telling you, Craig, I really think we are on a collision course between seeing two elite teams go head-to-head in the state championship, and that's North Oconee maybe going up against Pace Academy. Obviously, there's other teams in there. We don't want to slight them, but I do think we got a really good potential matchup coming up.
Yeah, and I think North Oconee's sort of the same way. When they started this season, it's like they lost some pieces from last year, but not really. So they're going to look different, but they didn't have to like come up with a completely new identity. They just kind of moved guys like Justin Wise into bigger roles, shifted things around a little bit, and I think that gives them the ability to play to their opponent. They know if a team's going to try to hit them in transition, what they need to do. So you have two teams that can really strategize depending on who they play.
100%. Well, guys, it's going to conclude this segment. Coming up after the break, we will talk to Ẓtééphane Smith of Titan Sports to get the latest around that great company.
Great teams are committed, focused on the details, and work hard to be their best. From practice to games, right down to their gear. Your field is a critical part of the game that allows your athletes to showcase their athletic abilities. Sports Turf is committed to bringing your team innovative sports surfaces with unparalleled performance. You bring the vision. Our team brings it to life.
This makes my dad proud. He went through his whole career as an employee. Now I'm the employer, something he didn't achieve.
We are signatory to IBEW and do IBEW people wherever we go that we feel like they are faster and better than any of our competition.
The advantages of being a signatory contractor is you're trained employees. You have unlimited manpower. It allows me to bid on jobs that I ordinarily would not go after.
We celebrate the athletes, the buzzer beaters, the record breakers, the wins. Now, it's time to celebrate the people behind it all. The advice givers, the community shapers, the game changers, the life changers. It's time to celebrate our coaches. Join all of us at BSN Sports and show your coach some love by sharing their story with #ThankYouCoach.
Man, you know how to do this? Man, I don't even know. I was flipping burgers last week.
Violation, unsportsmanlike conduct, impersonating a craftsman.
Skilled trade unions are well-trained career pros, not part-timers. Construction is a rewarding and lucrative career with the advancement potential, but you have to do it the right way with the right training. Learn how you can be a pro. Find your career at GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com.
Georgia High School Sports Daily is brought to you by the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 613. Electrify your career.
The High School Sports Daily, Najee Wilson along Craig Sager. So we're going to bring on the co-founder of Titan Sports, Ẓtééphane Smith, who has a rich history in this. He attended the University of Texas from 2001 to 2008. He got his bachelor's degree of science. I just want to make sure I get this right. In electric and electronics engineering, also obtained a Master of Science degree in analog and mixed circuit design before starting with Intel, where he was there for 5 years, 2008, 2013. and obviously now he is the co-founder of Titan Sports and Integrated Bionics. So I want to ask you a little bit, just where does your passion for this come from, sir? I know this is something that's always been kind of the top of the mind for you, but just talk about some of your experience. You've been doing this for 17 years, Mr. Ẓtééphane. Just where did all this passion come from?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's kind of a funny story, you know. We always been about sensing, about building computers, electronics and whatnot. I have experience back at NASA, so we started a company, actually a medical device company of all things, really focused on human health and performance. And as we went down that path, we went through a couple different areas from sleep apnea, and we eventually ended up in sports. It seemed like a really great place where we were able to bridge some of our experiences and our expertise here at Titan on the technology front, and then connect with coaches where a lot of times they don't have access to some like just amazing tech. And so that's really kind of where the passion comes, is kind of bridging some of those gaps and providing the unexpected, right? Kind of over-delivering even on kind of what you can get and what you can do with technology today.
Yes, sir. Speaking of that, what was your first relationship kind of like when you were formulating it? Like, what was that first program? What were you telling these coaches or even players, like, hey, this can be beneficial for you and your program? What was that message there?
Well, I mean, from the beginning, we started off on like kind of an injury management side, and we went down that path for a while. But one thing that we kind of shifted, right? In the beginning, it was really kind of load management, but we found that coaches have a lot broader needs. It's not so narrow, especially when you talk about high school coaches. A lot of times where the need from data, it goes to recruit. Right? We need to start talking about speed training, how to make kids faster. And so clearly we have a large part about injury management. That conversation is still there. But what the conversations where they go today is, well, how do we maximize use of data, right? And it can go any direction, and really all the directions are right. So we try not to like coach our coaches, if that makes sense. We try to empower the coaches to do what they want to do through using GPS tech or heart rate or a different number of devices in our applications.
For sure. And then I want to ask this, the relationship with players. We're seeing players tweet more about this. They're really liking the gear and being able to wear it. They're getting measured with the data. What's been kind of their standpoint from it, and how did you formulate the relationship with also the players?
Well, the coaches and the players are the center of the universe, right? And so one thing we notice is the more that we talk about ourselves, it's just not nearly as fun. It's really the stars of the show are the players. Like when they hit a new PR in game, we're kind of recognizing coaches and players have been working at this for years. And so for us, we kind of celebrate that. So to provide the number on that, hey, this kid hit 22.3 miles per hour in game, and to eventually be able to bring that out, it's not just like an Xbox achievement that we can celebrate, right? And like there's also a lot of these micro achievements that we can recognize. So I think for the athlete's perspective, that's really kind of what we focus and dial in on, is how do we bring out what the things that they do and then make it something that we can kind of rally around and cheer for.
Yeah, I have a question just about baseball. I was blown away last year just how much analytics and data is available at the high school and youth level. I mean, they have everything from your batting percentage against a right-hander, a left-hander, how fast you run to each base. What I want to ask you, though, I see kids that are posting videos of themselves training, and they say, I'm in the lab. I'm working on it in the lab. Do you feel like that merge between athletics and science really is sort of like a lab approach on perfecting your craft?
I mean, I think that once you have data, it's so simple, it changes intent. Right? Like just the accountability of having the numbers, even if it's not really doing anything, I hate to say it, but like it changes in the mind. And I think that a lot of times the athletes are understanding, even when they're doing sets and reps, we're counting these items, we can push for the next level. And I think when they say the lab, that's kind of a really nice colloquial way of saying like, I care about the numbers, I care about the data, and then this is a measurable way for me to improve. And so I like that analogy. It's great. And then another thing I really love about high school and football is you have this cross-pollination. Maybe the lab also can come, we have some coaches are like math teachers. Some are chemistry teachers also. So this cross-pollination between science and math and sport is kind of one of a kind in high school sports also, and I think that's also really really awesome, and why you might start having this mixed vocabulary between the tech and the sport.
And then you talked about things like injury prevention when you first started getting into this, like focused on the health, but what's an area that maybe you weren't as familiar with once you started that you guys have adapted to in the years since?
Well, in the beginning, again, it really was about the health side, and that's really kind of where we really initially focused. And one area that we got into, for example, one thing that's kind of a lot of buzz is about speed training, and that's kind of the technique of getting faster, the concept that speed is a teachable area. For us, has been kind of a growth area. So, for example, we've added new metrics. There's one metric called truck stick, which totally organically came from coaches, right? From Coach Garrett Muller specifically, Coach Tony Holler. They've been pioneering different concepts. So we're learning and adapting what is boots on the ground, what coaches want to do, and then feeding that back into our system. So then we can connect the dots. A lot of times coaches, like, we don't want a wall of numbers. We want to know, okay, I have a philosophy of speed-based training. How do we connect the dots? And for us, that's a learning process as well, to make sure that we're always making the data, again, not just all of stuff, but in context with what they want to accomplish.
I'm glad you brought that up. I wanted to ask you also about just the metrics, because we've seen a lot of players are posted speed, or Titan Sports are posted, hey, did he hit this top speed of 23 or 24 miles per hour? So what other metrics for those watching at home do you also guys measure? You talked about the TS just now, but what are some other metrics that are very important to Titan Sports?
So, I mean, clearly it really depends on what coach is trying to do. But like top level, we'll have clearly your explosiveness, XL, decel, top speed, truck stick. So those are all kind of the top level. By the way, for the folks who don't know what truck stick is, it's a really fun way of saying momentum. It's about, football is about tackling and blocking. It's how the speed manifests itself in the sport, and the bigger guys moving fast have more of an impact, quite literally. And so truck stick is a football specific metric for that. So we have that. Other things that we have, for example, is a lot of coaches come from the weight room. We have a weight room kind of idea. So we have a 1 rep max, and a lot of times athletes are performing at 80% or a percentage of the 1 rep max. And so you can think about, for example, top speed being the 1 rep max. And so we have a lot of personal bands. So coaches can say, hey, I want everyone to have a certain number of efforts at 70% of their personal record. And so they can track that in terms of counts, right? And so it's not just high speed running yardage, but also in terms of the number of times they're achieving this. And so anyway, there's a lot of metrics, and really it's about dialing into the right ones within the philosophy.
Yes, sir. And then final question, I want to ask you just about the partnership that you have with obviously Georgia Elite Classic. The players raved and loved the technology. They kept posting obviously all their stats. Just talk about that relationship and partnership with them, and potential partnerships and collaborations in the future for Titan Sports.
Well, look, I tell people all over the country, Georgia is just first. We're based in Texas, so it pains me a little bit to say that, but the reality is I do feel like a lot of the innovative mindset is right there. And so it's no mystery that a lot of the teams, and we have a lot of the forward-thinking coaches who are really excelling and bringing technology, and sport is right there. So yeah, Georgia Elite Classic, we have Coach Dan Mullins, Al Latuna, who's certainly pioneering things as well. And so, again, where folks are thinking about this, where people with the early adopters are, that's certainly where we want to be, and that's where we can innovate and start bringing new things and exploring new concepts, right? Not everything works, but a lot does, right? And we really need to find open-minded individuals who are ready to do things, really exciting things that Frank will say, not even being done at higher levels. And so it's a really awesome mindset, and we're really excited to be partnering. Hope to have more partnerships, right, with the folks in Georgia.
100%. Well, we say, Ẓtééphane, thank you so much for coming on and talking about your great company. We've loved seeing the technology and appreciate you so much, and hope to see you again in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. All right, guys, there goes Ẓtééphane Smith. Coming up after the break, we will break down the next basketball brackets.
Georgia High School Sports Daily is presented by GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com. Transform your future today. And by Smart Local 85. Sheet metal is a smart move.
All right, welcome back to Georgia High School Sports Daily. It is now time to take a look at the brackets. We're going to take a look at 2A. Craig, I did want to discuss this a little bit further with you, but Columbia is a 13 seed in this bracket. I know they were a top team, obviously, in our Score Atlanta rankings. What's your thoughts on them, obviously, getting that?
Yeah, I think with Class 2A, that's probably the classification that most just doesn't represent what our rankings were in terms of how it played out. You have teams like looks like Tatnall County. They got the number 2 seed. They haven't been in many of the state polls all season long, even though they've got a great record. So this one's going to be interesting. Obviously, it's exciting that this is the first year we have the power rating system, but certainly Columbia, team that has had success many years, making deep runs. For them to enter the playoffs as a seed, this pretty much having to do it all on the road, that'll be interesting to see. But certainly a lot of road teams will be favored in this first round, and we'll see in the end who wins, the playoff ratings or our rankings.
Obviously, yeah, it's a good point. And to your point, Craig, other teams that got in there, Morgan County obviously got a top seed, and then you obviously look at Butler, 16-8, a number 4 seed in obviously the bracket as well. Very interesting.
Yeah. What I think is intriguing about 2A right now, you have Carver Columbus. I mean, things are just going really great at that school. We saw what they did in football, just running away with the state title. A lot of times you'll see teams like that, like a Sandy Creek, win both of them. They've got the athleticism. They've got tons of depth and potential. But you have these Augusta area schools. You got Laney, you got Butler. They've made deep runs before. And then teams like South Atlanta, they've been ultra talented, playing all those teams in the area. And then I really do like Morgan County as a sleeper. They're on the opposite side of Carver Columbus. They can make a big run. They've won state titles before. So I think that's another intriguing team to watch. Them getting the number 3 seed is also very, very beneficial. Well, with some of these other seedings, they might be at home the entire time up until the semis.
For sure. We're going to move to Class A Division 1 real quick. My quick sleeper, though, is going to be South Atlanta for 2A. I think they can make a run when you look at that bracket with Sumter County, Tatnall County. They're a very talented team. I'll talk more about them later, but let's go to Class A Division 1 and some of those matchups. All right, guys, as you can see here, very interesting. Craig, which one stands out the most to you in the first round?
We got Putnam County playing Central Macon. Putnam County's been number 1 in pretty much every state poll this entire season. They got Jamari Green, star player. They got the talent. I think they've only lost 1 game this season, so you'll see them as number 6 seed, but really they've been number 1 in the poll. You got Southwest. They eventually earned the number 1 seed. Same sort of deal, ultra talented. But then you got to watch out for teams like Commerce. You got Model, number 3 seed. Temple's been battle tested out of their region. Fitzgerald. You got Raven County. I think Class A Division 1 should be pretty wide open. I'm interested to see, though, can Putnam County close out this great run that they've been able to have this season.
Certainly. I think my team is going to be Best Academy. Obviously, I'll talk more about them later on. But, Craig, remember when we had when we started the initial Corky Kell Țtééphane Basketball Classic, we had Frederick Douglass in the tournament. They played against Norcross and ended up winning, ended up holding on towards the end. But the McHale twins plays, obviously, for Best Academy. They're averaging 17 points per game. So they're going to be a sleeper. They got a 15 seed or 27 this year. That could be a double-digit seed that you see make a Final Four run.
Yeah, well, I did not know that. I did not know that. They were fantastic.
Yes.
But yeah, similar situation to Class 2A with the seeding. A number 15 seed, they'll play Bleckley County. That's a talented team, will be a big test. The one result that did happen yesterday looks Fannin County beat Brantley County. They held home court 51-33. They'll advance to play the winner of Dublin and Heard County. Dublin's another team that's been, I think, number 2 or 3 in the polls. Very talented. But to me, it's maybe that collision course between Putnam County and Southwest on the other side.
For sure. All right, let's go to Class A Division 2 and those matchups. Obviously, at the top, Irwin County, they're going to go and play against Warren County. But you got several really good high-end matchups here. I really like the Early County Hancock Central matchup, Craig. I think that should be a really entertaining first-round matchup as well. Any others that stick out to you?
In Class A Division 2, this one doesn't do the power ratings because everyone has a conventional region. And so the big storyline this year was that head-to-head between Savannah and McIntosh County Academy. Savannah was able to avenge the early loss. They said that that was going to be their goal for the rest of the season. They handled business in that department. To me, they're the #1 seed. Their coach said that that loss was probably the best thing that happened to them this season, that wake-up call. And you got to think about when it happened. It happened early in the season, before all those holiday tournaments where school's out. You really start to bond with the team. You travel. You can really just focus on basketball for that window before you come back to the new semester and get into region play. So I think that early loss really sharpened the focus of Savannah. And we've seen teams before, you suffer that one big loss to a rival, avenge it, and that turns out to be the wake-up call.
100%. All right, let's go to private classification now, and those matchups should be very interesting. But the #1 seed there, Craig, is North Cobb. They've had a great year so far as well. Followed there by Holy Innocents, who has a #3 seed. They're going to play Aquinas in the first round. Prince Avenue Christian has been really good this year. I think an interesting matchup, but it's Walker and Kings Ridge in that first round. Should be really entertaining to see those two go head-to-head.
Certainly. Walker was the hottest team in this classification for quite a time until the big win by Mount Perrin. That entire region is so difficult. I feel like Walker, they've proved they can beat anyone. But this classification is intriguing because you have Holy Innocents in there now coming from 4A last year where they made the finals. You have Lovett coming from 4A down to this classification. And then you have teams like Green Forest Christian who have routinely gone to the state finals in Class A private back when it was its own classification. So seeing some of these bigger schools like Lovett, like Holy Innocents, that's what, to me, makes it interesting in who's going to take this.
And it's interesting. They will actually play each other in the second round, Mount Perrin and Lovett, so they get another matchup. But, Craig, what are you most excited for to watch? Obviously, as the boys' action kind of kicks off tonight. You had a couple matches yesterday, but what are you most excited for just seeing all these classifications go head-to-head?
Yeah, what I love about the playoffs in the state of Georgia, every classification has its own storylines to offer. I really don't think that there's that super heavy favorite that we've had some of the years. 2 years ago with that Wheeler team, we knew that they pretty much looked unbeatable. We saw that televised matchup where they played Newton. Yeah. Newton played as good as you could possibly play. It still came up short. I don't necessarily see a team that's that dominant this year. There are going to be some heavy favorites, but I think that's what makes it the most exciting. And then in Class 5A, I think that's the one where everyone is waiting to see who's going to emerge. Is it going to be Alexander after they came up short to Riverwood? Is it going to be a team like Milton? Is it going to be Woodward Academy? There's so many teams that people know can get it done, but it should be pretty wide open. And then there's obviously some sleeper picks. I think you mentioned Dutchtown.
Tri-Cities.
Tri-Cities, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they got good players, to your credit, Craig. Yeah, 5A is wide open. 4A seems like a two-headed race, but maybe we'll see something different. 3A, which we talked about yesterday, I think another collision course, Sandy Creek and Cedar Grove yet again, potentially.
Yeah, and we just highlighted the Class A private. Can Caleb Wilson lead them to a state title? #1 player in the state right now. It would be a tremendous story for them to get to the top this year, returning, and then going on, obviously, to his college career, being one of the best players in the entire country.
Yeah, 100%. Caleb Wilson's been magnificent. He has so many, just Holly Innocence records, and I think he'll definitely love to bring them a state championship. Got so close last year, Craig. Ended up losing to North Dakota in the state championship. But that's going to conclude this segment. Coming up, we'll talk to Penny Mitchell, talk the latest around dance and the championships this upcoming Saturday.
We celebrate the athletes, the buzzer beaters, the record breakers, the wins. Now, it's time to celebrate the people behind it all. The advice givers, the community shapers, the game changers, the life changers. It's time to celebrate our coaches. Join all of us at BSN Sports and show your coach some love by sharing their story with #ThankYouCoach.
Dang, where you get this car?
You need to join the union.
The union?
Absolutely. You can get 10 of these.
Union construction workers earn the highest wages with the best benefits and the most protection in the construction industry. Find your career in construction. Go to GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com and start your future today.
A journeyman with Local 85, when you turn out, you can be hitting six figures.
Hey, I have your back, you have my back, we're gonna do this together. We're one for all for one.
College just wasn't for me. Let's look into actual career jobs that wouldn't take college, where I wouldn't, lose money and all that. Instead of losing a lot more money at the end, why not make money and make more money at the end?
What happens after you graduate? Will you go to the next level? Will people have your back in the heat of the battle? Will you still train like a champion in pursuit of greatness? You will when you become an IBEW electrician. Join our team. Visit IBEW613.org.
All right, welcome back to Georgia High School Sports Daily. Real quick before our interview, just want to say that you can watch this show on the Peachtree Sports Network via YouTube TV, the Atlanta News First app as well, and also CBS Sports streaming app, Zine. But without further ado, let's go ahead and bring on Penny Mitchell of the GHSA Dance. Thank you so much, Ms. Mitchell, for joining us.
Thanks, glad to be here.
Yes, ma'am, certainly. So I want to start at the top. Obviously, this is the 5th year of dance. You guys are in a new arena this year. You're at Atkins Arena here in Athens. What was kind of, prompted the change this year instead of having it in Macon?
Well, the venue in Macon, first of all, the Macon Coliseum is just so great to help us and do anything they can to help us. So we hated to leave there, but the venue really didn't match what we needed to do. We needed a bigger space for warm-ups that was, this one is just going to be a little better for dance, I think.
Yes, ma'am, certainly. And then obviously this year, I know you're going to have 6 judges that's going to be, judging the girls, judging the teams, obviously with, up to 20 dancers maximum. But what are some things they're going to look for in terms of just the criteria in order to kind of just, judge them and kind of rate their performances?
Well, there's a rubric across all dances, and it goes all the way from lacking to excelling. So they're ranked on that in all types of parts of dance, like choreography, musicality, synchronization, all those things, and they score them on that.
Got you. And then what's just been your favorite thing about just the dance and just the continued growth of the sport and being able to see all these talented, girls go head to head and battle for championships?
Well, the talent in Georgia is amazing. And, it teaches you about the different areas of Georgia as well. So, there's very heavy dance way up in North Georgia now, Ringgold and Heritage, those high schools up in there, lots of great dance. We have some in Middle Georgia. We have some in South Georgia, but mainly in Atlanta area, the big schools have more than anyone, of course, and up in North Georgia. So it's been great to see that, the talent we have, and just so much fun to watch. And if you've never watched a dance competition, it'd be worth your time tuning in to the NFHS network to see that.
Certainly, and the events during the season have gained a lot of popularity too, some huge showcases at some of those regions of the state that you mentioned. I have a question about this year's championships. The classifications have changed. Is it still going to be 4 champions ultimately awarded?
Yes, well, actually, Division 1 and 2 is one division, and then AA and 3. So 2A and 3A are together, 4A and 5A together, and 6A is by itself.
Okay, so that was 5? Did I get that right?
It's four classifications,
okay, 4
you're
still.
right.
Okay, and then what's also interesting to me is the 4 different genres that these teams can choose from. And you look at some teams like Stars Mill, they've never lost in this event. They might win it with a jazz routine one year and then go to a palm routine or a kick routine or hip hop. I mean, how cool do you think that is that the teams can kind of choose what suits them best and can have like a new genre to explore each season?
That's a great thing. Usually the teams typically do the same thing every year. So if a lot of teams do, pick hip hop and jazz, or hip hop and pom, or pom and jazz, they can pick two things to compete in at sectionals. This year, for the first time, we have had a qualifier. So that was held last weekend at McIntosh High School, and out Stillwell hosted at Mount Zion. But we got the top 16 teams, the top 16 routines from each. Well, let me back that up. Top 16 schools with their highest scoring routine advanced to finals.
That's right. And then only, let's say Stillwell or McIntosh goes out there and does, because you can do a jazz and a pom, you can pick two routines. Can you only qualify for state for one event?
Yes, this year for the first time.
Okay, that's what I thought. See, I was getting really confused. I saw last year, it looks like Stars Mill, or South Forsyth, when they won for the first time, actually the top two scores. You're
That's
talking
right.
about the criteria. Were there any other changes that go into the routine with maybe certain tricks or aerials or things that teams are allowed to do that in the past they weren't able to?
Well, the NFHS Spirit rules dictate that pretty much. And some things were allowed that were not allowed from last year, but not a huge amount of things. But our people in Georgia have really started doing a lot of these tricks, especially in hip hop, that have never been done in Georgia at the state meet.
And then walk us through kind of what the state meet's like, the atmosphere, the overall energy, and I mean, what it's like to just be sitting on the edge of your seat waiting to see these final results.
Well, they're a lot of fun because it's something different. Every time a team comes up, it's not going to be anything like the previous routine. Now, I'm from a cheer background, and you kind of check boxes for cheer, but this is completely different. Everything has a different feel to it. It's just, there can be no mistakes. That's at the end of the day, that's going to determine who wins, and no missed skills, and no mistakes like an aerial with their hands down or something like that. That could make a difference in champion and a runner-up.
Yeah, and you're mentioning just some of these teams earlier areas. It looks like Stars Mill at that McIntosh qualifier at 96.95. They scored in the Jazz. Some pretty impressive marks. I mean, how rare is it to be able to have teams scoring in the upper 90s at this event?
Well, as the season goes on, they get a little higher, but then these are the highest scores of the season, and I feel good about the teams can improve along as they go. And another side of that you probably people don't think about is we had to come up with our own judging group. So they've had to train. We've gone to extra lengths this year to send them out of state to train and bring people in to help them train to know how to score these routines, so that the officials are as good as the coaches are. So it's been a challenge, but I think we've done a good job this year getting that done.
Yeah, the rubric, I looked at it a little bit. It definitely looks hard. It's a lot tougher than maybe calling balls and strikes.
That's right. Or just different.
A little bit, yeah. And then I have a question, just in other sports, if you win a state championship, let's say like in this routine, I guess the common knowledge would be we don't want to change anything, but it seems like in this sport you have to continuously innovate, choose new routines. You got teams that are trying to hit those marks that won for another program last year. How different are teams that are successful at winning the state championship in terms of introducing new routines each year?
Nobody comes with the same routine for sure 2 years in a row. I mean, everybody knows their routine by the end of the year, but they are very good at, these coaches are very, very informed and knowledgeable, and they get outside help. They have lay coaches like any other sport, and they just learn new things and come up with innovative ways to, put that on the floor, along with, just getting your attention. Some of the ones this year just take your breath away. It's just very nice. It's just fun to watch.
Yeah, certainly. I saw a lot of people just impressed with some of these performances we saw at these other events. And then what's it like for maybe a coach of this sport? I mean, how much training and preparation goes into this?
A lot of them were former dancers. A lot of them coach dance at their school. I mean, teach dance all day. Some people teach English during the day and then do this on the side like any other sport, and they may have a lay coach that really weighs heavily. They're all, they know dance. When I call them and ask them a question, they can give me specifics. I mean, I'm very impressed with the knowledge of our coaches, our dance coaches across the state.
And then before we let you go, I know we only have 30 seconds. Just quick question on just, will we see any changes or anything that you guys will discuss, prior to the season being over that you may implement next year?
I have the greatest advisory board that are staff full of coaches, and we will meet as soon as this is over, and let's talk about what we can do to make this better. Every year we do that. And, a lot of it, we're just waiting for the growth to hit. We have 84 teams this year, which is good. We've grown from probably 8 more teams this year than last year. So we're just waiting, and maybe we can divide this more so we can give more awards. I don't know. We'll just have to see how that turns out.
Yes, ma'am. Well, Ms. Mitchell or Ms. Penny, we thank you so much for coming on and talking about the Ladies with Dance Championships. Hope it's a great, exciting weekend, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. All right, there goes Ms. Penny. Coming up, we will have our basketball predictions, so come right back here on the Peachtree Sports Network.
Yeah, I had to ask that last one.
They
changed so much stuff. Yeah. It's like they moved the center this year, and then I had to ask that. All right, here we go.
You changed your pick? I know.
Three, two. Three.
All right, welcome back to Georgia High School Sports Daily. We have Hayden Gilbert and Max Waborski on with us to do our basically our bracketology, our bracket prediction, I guess you could say to a degree. So we're going to go ahead and start. Hayden, I'm going with you. You had a good take yesterday with 6A. So let's talk a little bit about 6A and who you got, Hayden.
I just have to go with Grayson. I mean, you look at they're the defending champs. Everything they've done up to this point leads you to think that they can do it again, and they just have that pedigree.
For sure. Craig, you're going with Wheeler. Max, you're going with me with McEachern. So I want to hear you two guys' picks on this one real quick.
I'll start with Wheeler. Their only in-state loss was to Grayson. They played a while ago. Had a slow start to that game, ended up losing 77-68. What I like about Wheeler, though, what we've seen in the region playing Etowah and Walton, they've been able to handle business, sweep that region, and I just think they're a team that is unselfish with the basketball. Grayson's going to be overwhelming with their athleticism, but if they can protect it, limit the turnovers, I think that they can maybe control the pace, and that's the key to success, but they're going to have to go through Grayson.
Real quick on 6A.
Yeah, I just think McEachern, they're riding that region championship with Chase Lumpkin, Jaden Bynes, and Christian Curl. I don't see them slowing down anytime soon.
All right, let's go to 5A. All right, here we go. Me and Craig agree. Woodward Academy got Tri-Cities for Max. That is an underrated pick, and Hayden is going with Milton. So you talked about it upstairs. You said you believe Milton because that was kind of a shock them losing to Lanier, so the coaches get them right. Talk a little bit about that.
I think when you really look at that, you look at Milton. They come in, they're number one the majority of the season. They're playing really good basketball, unbeaten in region play. Then they go into the region tournament and lose to, I think, a team that most people would say is a lot worse than them in Lanier. Not a bad team, but a team that going into that had no one gave them any chance. Now that coaching staff can go into that locker room and say, hey, we obviously aren't as good as we thought we were. We can be beat by anyone. You can't overlook anyone. We can go into the playoffs now and we're going to play 100% in every game, even though they start the playoffs really hard, with a really tough matchup. Gotcha. You could sit there and go all the way through the playoffs with we're now the underdog because we're not that one seed. We didn't win our own region.
Gotcha. Let's go to 4A. I know we have limited time on this segment, so we'll go by one. All right, everybody is going with North Oconee except me. So no surprise there, but just talk about you guys' picks here real quick on North Oconee.
Well, for me, it's can they beat Pace Academy? I think they, out of all these teams in 4A, might be able to match up with them the best. The key for Pace Academy, though, you can't let them kill you at the foul line. Eric Chatfield is 85-90% shooter right there. He can get to the line. Just if they limit the fouls, have good rebound, and hit the outside shot, I think they can go back-to-back.
All right, go ahead, Max.
I just think North Oconee is just deep. They got great players. Kamari Brooks, who we know on the football field as well, but then Banks Portier as well. 6'8", I think he's just going to be a problem for teams to handle. 13 points a game and 8 rebounds a game as well. And then there's Justin Wise, who we didn't even talk about yet, but he's the state championship game MVP from a year ago. I just think they'll be rolling.
That's a great point real quick. We know North Oconee hits that weight room. Maybe they'll physically be able to match up with Pace.
Yep. And mine, real quick, for those at home wondering, 4A, I really like the coach, Coach Sharma White. Obviously, Coach Rick Rasmussen is very great as well. But I think they got enough depth to make a difference in that one with Bentley Lewiscano. They got Eric Chatfield and Chandler Bean. My money's on the Knights. All right, let's go to 3A. All right, so 3A, we're all going with Cedar Grove except Hayden. So we're going to Hayden. Why Sandy Creek? Why not Cedar Grove?
I just feel like it was really hard for me. You look at both those teams. This is the first year in a while that they're not in the same region. Like, True. You looked at years past, it was Sandy Creek, Cedar Grove, and Douglas, all three in that same region, all compete for state championships.
Yes.
And I think one thing, I want to just be a little different. I wanted to not go with Cedar Grove.
Okay.
But I think one thing is, of all the teams in there, I think Sandy Creek has the ability to, they've played them in the past. They've played them a lot in the past because of being in the same region, being competitive in that region. I just think they have the ability to make a run at the state title.
All right, let's go to 2A. All right, here we go. 2A. Everybody's going Carver, Columbus, except me. I'm in your same kind of liking, Hayden. I wanted to go with somebody different. I like South Atlanta. Their junior, Duar. Duar is averaging 13.6 points per game and 10.5 rebounds and 2.7 blocks. I think they have the defense to match up. Not saying with Carver, Columbus, but I think they can make a run to the state tournament or to the state championship and potentially make some noise. So that's my pick there. All right, we're running out of time. Let's go to Class A Division 1. All right, right here, Class A Division 1. I went with Best Academy. You look like you went with Putnam County, Craig, and you guys went with Southwest Macon. So I'm going to go with you, Craig. Why did you go with them?
I haven't seen anyone in Class A Division I really knock them off yet. I think that they are motivated. They got a pretty decent seeding, and they're number 1 in my rankings, so I got to pull for them.
All right, let's go to Class A Division II. All right, here we go. So me and Hayden are going with McIntosh County Academy. Hayden, I'm in agreement with you. I think they got a team to make some noise. MJ Quarterman's been great, 12.6 points per game and 10.1 rebounds. Max, I'm going to you. Why are you going with your team?
Yeah, so, I mean, in this tournament, it's all going to come down to scoring and defense, and Savannah has 5 guys averaging over 10 points a game, and Makai Joyner, Jermonte Brown, Zai Smart, Deshaun Davis, and Ahmad Hall. And they got great size as well. I mean, these guys are nowhere lower than 6 feet tall, with Deshaun Davis, the tallest, at 6'8". I think that size will be tough to handle in the tournament as well.
All right, last one. Let's go to private. All of us are going Holy Innocents. No surprise until we see something different. Holy Innocents until we see something different. I mean, yeah, I think this is Caleb Wilson's year. You got Devin Hutcherson. But I'm going to go to Hayden on this one. Why do you think Holy Innocents has a chance to win it all?
I think just when you look at the team, they have at least the best player in private, and they probably have two of top 5 players in the private classification. And with those kinds of players, until you prove you can be I'm not going to say you can.
Last word, Max.
I mean, I think Caleb Wilson, I think we all know who he is. 21 points a game, 11 rebounds a game as well. Going along with 5 assists, he just stuffs the stat sheet.
Well, there you guys have it. Those are our basketball predictions. I'm sure we'll get a tweet out on this. Tweet us at Score Atlanta to give your predictions of who you have winning all each classifications. That's all the time for today. We'll see you same time, same place tomorrow, 12 to 1 p.m. right here on the Peachtree Sports Network.
Hey, is the power off on this?
I don't know. Just take it off. Safety violation, unsafe work conditions.
In the construction trades unions, safety is our highest priority, and we train you to recognize and speak out on unsafe working conditions so that everyone arrives and goes home safely. Learn about careers in construction at GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com.
Beginning the morning you opened your eyes, we spent every waking moment preparing you for the day you'd leave our nest. Whether it's driving to practice or helping with homework, it's all prepared you for, what am I going to be when I grow up? Will you be ready?
After much thought, I made my decision to take my talents to the IBEW Local 613.
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers is not simply a job, it's a career. Visit IBEW613.org to begin a new future today.
We celebrate the athletes, the buzzer beaters, the record breakers, the wins. Now, it's time to celebrate the people behind it all. The advice givers, the community shapers, the game changers, the life changers. It's time to celebrate our coaches. Join all of us at BSN Sports and show your coach some love by sharing their story with #ThankYouCoach.
Are you interested in becoming a deputy or a jailer? The Gwinnett County Sheriff's Office is hiring and looking for individuals passionate about protecting and serving their community. If you are 18 years or older, join our team by visiting GoGCSO.com for more information. Gwinnett County, together we can make a difference.